From MTN Sports, welcome to Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertsons Safeway.
We're back here on the Grizz Insider once again. Thank you so much for joining us here, and we're excited to bring you Montana Grizzly football and athletics for this upcoming season. Alongside the voice of the Grizz, Riley Corcoran, I'm Kyle Hansen. Riley, weirdly enough, it felt like a playoff game yesterday, but first of all, great to have you back, man. We're here.
Appreciate it, Kyle. It's always great to be back on set. The crew that's here is awesome, and looking forward to recording these each week, sharing some Grizzly sports, Grizzly football particularly here, and having a great season of the Grizzly Insider.
We're fired up coming off of last year's run to the national championship game, and man, out of the gates, first of all, crazy atmosphere, especially coming off the night games a year ago, but man, Montana Grizzlies, Missouri State Bears, 29-24 the final, and Montana, that first half did not do themselves any favor at all.
Not at all, Kyle. That game had a little bit of everything, didn't it? From the beginning to the unknown. Coach had talked about it all week. They weren't quite sure what they were going to get, and then it was choppy. I mean, there were some miscues, right? It was a first game, maybe jitters, whatever it might be. It just didn't look like the Montana Grizzlies to start. Now, you could play that twofold. I think that a lot of the close games they played in last year certainly helped, that they weren't overwhelmed at all by being in that spot. I think that the fans, and we could sense it, I'm sure you could down there on the sideline too, there were some nervous moments, second quarter, third quarter, before the Grizz finally prevailed, but a lot to unpack from it. I think overall, though, the coaches are going to like the fact that, hey, they got away with a win, but also have a lot that they can get better at.
And as you touched on, obviously, the miscues, right? You think of the muffed punt, kind of the start from Drew Deck, obviously rebounded from there. Aaron Font's a couple bad drops, and then, just the offense not quite getting going, right? Can't quite get the second touchdown right before half, get the field goal. But then on the flip side, you got to say game opponent in Missouri State, right? You look at Jacob Clark, Jarcadia Wright, Hunter Wood. These guys came to play. But, Riley, how big was that field goal, I think, going into halftime? Obviously, Missouri State punched them in the mouth again, but then Montana seemed to be a little more settled in the second half than the first.
I think that's a good assessment, Kyle. I think the muff punt really flipped the time of possession game to where Montana just, quite frankly, didn't have the ball. Halfway through the second quarter, they had run 10 plays and had the ball for about 4 minutes. So there wasn't much time for Kaylee Iayot or whoever was out there for the Grizzly offense to get in rhythm. So I did feel that 2-minute drive was massive, just to get that breath of fresh air, really, okay, we got the lead, 12-10, nothing really went our way, but still were able to do it. And it felt that they were just up against it the whole game, and give Missouri State a ton of credit. They are a game opponent, and I'm excited to see how they do in the Missouri Valley. It's a bit unique this year, of course, with them not being able to go to the playoffs, but if they play like that, and if they can stay healthy, Kyle, they're going to beat some teams and be towards the top of that conference.
So we got to talk about fourth down plays, right? So in the big one everyone's going to talk about is the Xavier Harris touchdown. That felt like a Montana Grizzly moment, right? 4th and 1, kind of a quick play, running out there with the RPO, and then he scores kind of in his new role, right? So speak to that, and then some of the other kind of fourth down moments that the Grizz were able to pull off.
I think that those were the clutch moments that you have a championship type mindset, and that is really what made the difference in the game. That play call number 1 was huge. 4th and 1, we'll ask Coach Hauck about the decision to go for it. I don't think there was much of one, but I think it might have surprised some people that they just threw it out to the edge and let Harris go. Great blocking by the wide receivers, and you're right, that was a moment. That was when the crowd electrified. The north end zone getting fired up too. It had all of the feels with it. And then let's not forget about Mr. 37, Trevin Gradney, the first ever from Billings to wear that number, to have that fourth down breakup too. When Missouri State, they were still going for it late into Grizzly territory. So those are just massive plays that, again, when we dissect all of it, those are probably two that stand out more than the rest.
Honestly, kind of a new unit too, right? And they showed they can handle adversity. I think that's big, especially going forward for them.
I think so. And with this new look team, there's a lot of newcomers that are in there, a lot of experience, but this is a building block for this team. Remember Butler last year? That wasn't pretty either, and that was a non-scholarship team. This was a game opponent, and the Grizz found a way to win it.
Great call with Butler. I totally agree with you. We have a great show coming your way on the first Grizz Insider of the year. Coming up next, Riley chats with Coach Hauck here on Grizz Insider.
Welcome back to Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertsons Safeway.
Welcome back to the first Grizz Insider of the year. Pleased to be joined by 13th year head coach Bobby Hauck. His team gets a 29-24 win over Missouri State on Saturday, and it was his 130th win here at his alma mater. So, Coach, with all that being said, how you feeling? That game had a little bit of everything. We'll go into the atmosphere, the ins and the outs, but just your general takeaways from a win and starting 1-0.
Well, winning's good, right? You know, everybody loves to win, and they should. And winning's hard as well. So never take it for granted. We were in one of those just kind of grinded out games. And that was sort of by design by Missouri State. They wanted to shorten the game, get it to the fourth quarter, which they did a great job of. And we helped them a little bit with that. But, you know, it was going to be that kind of game. We knew it at halftime, even though we were up 2. So I was proud of our team for grinding it out and getting the W.
When you had the sense, too, Coach, leading up to the game, that always this first one, there's the unknown. There's anxiety knowing, okay, what is going to happen? What are we not going to see? So with it playing out the way it did, what were some of maybe the surprise or just the adjustments? Just take us maybe inside what it is for the coaching staff in that first game to just really adjust on the fly like you did.
Well, you and I talked last week a bunch. I said, these guys are good now. Don't be confused. You know, the quarterback's a veteran and a good player. The running back's the real deal. They're big up front on both sides of the ball. They're good at receiver. 19 returning starters. I mean, they're going to have a good season as long as they can stay healthy. So we knew what it was going to be going into it. And then I would like us to play a little bit cleaner than we did, which we didn't. And all of a sudden, it's a dogfight, and obviously the right team won.
Yes, they did. Let's break it down into halves, Coach, and especially the first half, right? Because the final 2 minutes, I thought, gave you guys a huge jolt of energy going into the locker room, taking the lead. But maybe the first 28 minutes before that, there was a lot that happened, and you could say miscues, just uncharacteristic things from the Grizzlies, some drops, a fumble, anything like that. How were you guys able to persevere a little bit, and how would you maybe just best assess what happened the first 30 minutes?
Well, a couple things. They were using the clock and shortening the game, which is a good idea for them. And then when you look at it, we had the drop punt, which gave them 2 consecutive drives. So before that clock drive with minute 40 left in the first half, we had a 10-play drive to get the field goal at the end. Before that, we only had about 20 plays. So they were playing keep away. They did a good job of it. We gave up a couple of third downs that hurt us to let them get on the board and get to 10.
Let's go to the second half. 17-12, you guys are trailing, and then driving with your offense, and then the 4th and 1 play happens. Xavier Harris takes it to the house for a touchdown. So RPO look, I know you talked to us about that in the post game, and it was awesome. It obviously was a play that sparked the Grizzlies for the victory. Take us through it and really just the flow maybe of the offense in the second half, particularly on that drive.
Well, down 5, 4th and 1 right there. I mean, it was an easy decision to go for it. And then Brent made a nice call. They had trouble getting lined up. They didn't get it adjusted right with their coverage aspect of it, and so we had him outnumbered out there, and he spit the ball out there, and we got a good block on the perimeter, and then exited the rest. It was good to get it in the end zone, take the lead, and then we never gave it up.
Well, I know that one word when it comes to the offense, and particularly last year, Coach, was balance. And you guys, again, had balance again offensively, despite who was at quarterback. So just to assess the offense in general, and we saw, as you told us, Kaylee Iayat, we saw Logan Fife, and both quarterbacks were able to lead you to some scores.
The balance was good, as you mentioned. Run and pass was we're able to lean on both of those. We can do both successfully, which will make us hard to stop. And then, you know, I was worried about with new quarterbacks and the logistics we had to endure over the last couple of weeks, you know, just the play clock and the false starts and all that administrative stuff. That was really clean. The quarterbacks did a great job with that. And so that's a great foundation. We'll be in good shape with our guys, and they're going to get better and better every week. I'm excited about them.
It should be great to get back to the grind, and you guys will have yet another test coming up this week with North Dakota out of the Missouri Valley. Coach, we're going to talk with Hayden Harris, one of your senior starters on defense, and I know with how he ended last year, you're really excited about how he was going to begin this year. And again, you saw it coming a little bit. He had 2.5 sacks, a great performance, but just speak of what Hayden has done since he's gotten here to Missoula.
Well, Hayden's really emerged midseason last year. He just kind of took over and was great, and that continued on. He's going to have a big year, and you know, you need to get me off the air. He's going to be really good sitting in this chair. He's awesome. He's a great kid. You'll love him.
Well, Coach, I like listening to you, so we're going to get you off the air right now. We'll talk with Hayden Harris on the other side of the break here on the Grizzly Insider.
Get social with Grizzly fans and follow MTN Sports on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Welcome back to Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertsons Safeway.
Welcome back into the Grizzly Insider Coaches Show, and I'm very excited to be joined by senior defensive end Hayden Harris. 2.5 sacks against Missouri State in the opener. Hayden, thanks so much for joining us. And, you know, winning's good, right? So how does it feel to kind of walk in here and 1-0 for the Grizzlies?
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm just excited to move on and watch the film and get better off of it. And we got a lot of things to work on, but I thought we did a great job last night and fighting through adversity and getting the W.
You get a chance to decompress now, right?
Yeah.
But what a game to start the season. Night game at Washington Grizzly Stadium. Walk us through, kind of from the defensive perspective, what this game was like, some of the hiccups early on, and then obviously leading up to that final defensive stance at the end.
Yeah, football has a lot of adversity involved, and you know, guys make mistakes, but the only thing you can do is move on and correct the mistakes and make the adjustments that are needed. And it was great to go in there and put a show on for the fans and come out with a win. So it was awesome.
As you guys start the game, kind of any jitters, and I guess what's kind of like the adjustment period, right? Especially that first half, as you know, Missouri State comes out swinging. You know, they get the touchdown early on, take the early lead. Just what was that adjustment period like? As you guys were kind of learning yourselves in that first half.
Yeah, they threw a lot of stuff at us that we weren't really prepared for, and we had to make those adjustments. The coaches did a great job, and I thought the guys came together, made those adjustments, and implicated them in the field, and it really worked out for us.
You guys really showed your ability to kind of handle adversity, right? Because like we just mentioned, they get the first touchdown. Second half, same thing, right? They come out, take the 17-12 lead. So in that moment when they score again, what was kind of the message on the sideline? How were you guys able to adjust, you know, for the rest of the second half?
Yeah, just sticking with the game plan, trusting the coaches, trusting each other, and we knew if we just followed the game plan and did our job, our 111th, that we were going to get the dub, and it all worked out for us.
2.5 sacks for you, like we mentioned, 4 total for the defense, all coming in the second half. Did anything change, I guess, where you guys were able to maybe apply more pressure on Jacob Clark?
Yeah, I thought Coach Coop did a good job of getting us more involved in the pass game, and he gamed some stuff up for us, and I thought all the defensive linemen did a really good job that were in there. Andres had a good sack, Vi, big play on 4th down, and Pat Hayden setting up my sack as well, and I thought they got the program down, and we executed the game plan to perfection.
Now, the thing I have to talk to you about is obviously they get the ball less than 2 minutes to go. Big stand for you guys, right? Sack, and then Vi gets that stop on 4th down to seal the game. So just what was that sequence like, and what kind of went into your guys' preparation as you were looking for that final stop to win the game?
Yeah, Coach Haug does a really good job of getting us in those environments during fall camp and spring ball, of getting in those situations where we need to make a play and we got to have it. And I think we were just trained, you know, to get that play and get those plays at the end of the game, and I thought we executed well.
Could you feel the crowd, I guess, kind of feeding off the energy, right? I mean, back-to-back sacks, especially in a drive like that, just feels huge. Could you guys feel that? Were you feeding off that at all?
Yeah, it was awesome. The fans they showed up, and we really felt their energy, and I think it really gave our team a boost. And we wanted to win for them, we wanted to win for the program, and I think it was awesome for the program to get that W. And we can now say we faced some adversity, and moving forward, I think it's going to really benefit us.
A lot of guys on that defense kind of getting their first Grizzly action, right? Some guys who've been in the program, and obviously some transfers, as you mentioned. So now that you get a little bit of time to think about it, what'd you think of everybody kind of working together, and really a fairly new unit kind of working together in defense as opposed to a year ago?
Yeah, a lot of new pieces, a lot of guys that were really good for us last year, but I think the guys have done a really good job of came in and stepped up and, you know, done their 111th, bought into the program, and I think it's really been great for the team, not only on defense, but offense, special teams. Ty had a really good game as well. And I think we did a good job at the end of putting it all together and finding a way to win.
For you, Hayden, too, year 2 here with Montana after your time at UCLA. So for you, talk about your comfort level and, you know, just kind of your familiarity with the defense, because, you know, big game for you kind of out of the gates. Does it feel different than maybe a year ago as you were kind of learning things?
Yeah, I think there's a pretty big gap compared to the first game last year, and compared to this year. I think that the coaches have done a really good job of acclimating me to the defense and getting all the other guys around me and helping them, the guys who are new, Andres, Pat, Vi, they've all done a really good job of buying into the program, doing their 111th, and it always works out when we all play together. Now,
another big Missouri Valley foe coming up this week, right, with North Dakota. You know, very tough non-conference slate for you guys. So how do you kind of channel this energy, right, and just keep building and building as the season is now underway and kind of look to go 2-0 when you head to Grand Forks next week? Yeah, I think practice is really big for us. We got to have good practices coming up because we're playing a really good team. They're going to, you know, be really good, and we got to find a way to pursue through practice, do a really good job, running the ball, keep chasing, and it'll all work out. Absolutely. Well, Hayden, congratulations on the win. Thank you. We'll see you next week. Perfect. Sounds good. Thank you. Absolutely. We'll be right back on the Grizzly Insider with me and Riley up next.
There's more coverage of the Grizzlies online anytime at montanasports.com. Welcome back to Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertsons Safeway.
We are back on the Grizz Insider, about to turn the page to game number 2. The Grizz will have their first road test of the year at a ranked North Dakota squad. And before Kyle and I break it down, let's see what Coach Hauck had to say.
Well, they'll be a good, tough-minded football team. They're going to believe in ball control. They'll have enough passing game to take some shots and hurt you on it. And, you know, the crowd will be good. It's in a dome. It'll be noisy. We'll have to deal with some of that. And should be a great challenge. You know, 2 Missouri Valley teams to start, and that'll be a test. So hopefully we can get ready and do some things to improve and get ourselves ready to go and go fight our tail off and find a way to get number 2.
Well, Kyle, Coach is fired up, going up on the road and another test for his team. But just your initial thoughts when looking at this game. I know when we were breaking down the schedule in the summer, this is when we had circled a road test at a ranked team.
Another team with a little bit of question marks, right, too, because last year led by Tommy Schuster, now at Michigan State. He leaves, and now you're kind of wondering who is going to kind of guide the ship for North Dakota this year. Always a very tough team, as you mentioned, Missouri Valley Football Conference. Simon Romfo, back up last year, now leading the charge at quarterback, played well against Iowa State. They did end up losing 21-3, and then Bo Belquist. So they have a nice quarterback receiver combination there at North Dakota. And, you know, just tough team, tough schedule. You know what's going to happen. And, like, you look at the stats from both the Grizz game and North Dakota, there's a lot of similarities on how these 2 games played out.
Well, I tell you what, we might have a mirror image, Kyle, just of the slugfest or the style of game. And I think Montana is going to run into this a lot this year, where teams are going to try and shorten the game, lead out the clock, take those long possessions. It's going to be massive. I know we didn't talk about it too much in the first segment, but those long third downs that Missouri State was able to convert, that kept them on the field. It's going to be ever so important. Have you ever seen North Dakota had a drive of 88 yards, 24 plays? It took 13 minutes off the clock. Needless to say, the Grizz can't let that happen on Saturday.
That's Midwest football, man. You love to see it. Yeah,
is.
you love to see. You see those old Nebraska fans are just nodding. Iowa fans, 3-yard runs, just do it like that. But it's interesting because they've played opponents like this, right? You look at how Idaho does that, you know, and you see some of the Big Sky schools do that. And then Missouri State. Missouri State was doing that, extending those drives. I mean, the 3rd and 18, 3rd and 16s. The Grizz can't do that against North Dakota because obviously on their turf, playoff team from a year ago coming back in, and just a lot of experience, especially in that conference. And, you know, it's kind of interesting seeing kind of the balance between Big Sky and Missouri Valley, right? Because 2 Missouri Valley opponents for the Grizz, very good litmus test versus a year ago where we were kind of looking at non-conferences like a little bit easier, but this is tough out of the gates.
That's a great point, because really the Grizzlies, and I think going into that Northern Arizona game, weren't tested as much as they should have been. They had no ranked opponents they played in the first 5 games of their season. Well, then they ramped it up late. This year it's the opposite. Missouri State was not ranked, felt like a ranked team, and now you have 2 more ranked teams coming up in the next 3 weeks. How much could you feel maybe just the difference in the intensity down there of, okay, we're playing a Missouri Valley team here that you have to be ready to go right away, and I know we made the comparison to a playoff game, but in a sense, you can maybe feel that intensity a little bit more down there.
And you can feel the urgency, too, right? You know, one of the questions I asked Eli Gilman after the game was just, could you feel that veteran experience help you on offense? And he said yes, because that's what they have in offense. But defensively, we're going to be talking about this all year. These are new faces, right? You know, you look at that D-line, look at some of these linebackers who are getting a lot of playing. I mean, Caleb Otluski's redshirt freshman, you know, out there playing for the Grizz and making plays. But these are their first time seeing, you know, moments like this and experiences like this. And so that's going to be question marks. And when you play a veteran team like North Dakota, you never know.
Well, and really, we talk about the defense, to your point, 5 new starters, but 10 senior starters. So, yes, there's experience, but they're new. It's an interesting mix, but we cannot wait to see what this team has in store for game number 2 against North Dakota, and we'll wrap up the show on the other side of the break.
Take coverage of the Grizz with you. Download our app for your favorite mobile device today. Welcome back to Grizzly Insider, sponsored by Albertsons Safeway.
Welcome back to the Grizz Insider, and we'll go ahead and wrap things up for episode 1. We're fired up to be right back in the mix. We've got a lot of great stuff coming your way this week for Grizz Athletics. I will have a Grizz Senior feature this week, as well as a preview to get you ready for North Dakota. And Riley, of course, you got a lot in the works.
Yeah, Inside the Den podcast coming out, recapping week 1, getting ready for week 2 as well. First coaches show, that'll be at the Den. Be fired up to get out in front of everybody. And don't forget, volleyball at home. They have their home tournament this weekend. Grizzly soccer rolling. It's a busy time of year, Kyle. We're fired up for it.
We're back in it. Fall approaches. We're very excited. Grizzlies versus North Dakota on Saturday. 5 p.m. Mountain kickoff, and the Montana Television Network will be airing the game. So make sure you catch it then. And Riley and I will be back here next week to recap that game here on the Grizz Insider. Have a great weekend.